China is carving a new path to the open ocean, one that skips the world's busiest shipping choke point. It runs by rail through Laos and Thailand to the Andaman Sea, and it could redraw global trade. China wants a way to move its goods to the Indian Ocean without sending them through the crowded sea lane it has always leaned on. So it's helping build a road for cargo that barely touches that lane at all. Instead of one long ocean voyage, the goods travel overland. Follow the route on a map, and it looks almost too simple. It begins in Kunming, a large city in southern China. From there it drops south by railway, crossing into the small country of Laos, then keeps going down into Thailand. It rolls past Bangkok and heads for the coast. And at the very end, on Thailand's western shore, sit two brand new deep water ports opening straight onto the Andaman Sea, which flows into the Indian Ocean and the rest of the world. Put all the pieces together and you get a single spine of concrete and steel stretching well over 1,000 miles. Fast trains for people, heavy freight trains for cargo, inland depots where containers get sorted, highways running alongside, and two ocean ports at the far end to load everything onto ships. One connected system with one job: give China a direct path by land to the open ocean. It's a giant bet, and it's being built in pieces by 3 different countries at 3 different speeds. Some of it is already running, half finished, and the boldest part is still just lines on a map. To see why anyone would attempt something this big, look at the problem it's built to solve. Right now, almost everything China ships to the world, and most of the oil it buys, travels through one narrow gap called the Strait of Malacca. It's a thin sea passage between Malaysia and the Indonesian island of Sumatra, and it's the shortest way for ships to move between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. Picture a huge shopping mall with hundreds of stores and only one door. Every shopper and delivery has to pass through that single door Malacca. About a quarter of all the goods the world trades squeeze through it. For China, the worry runs deep enough that its leaders gave it a name: the Malacca Dilemma. A country that has to send nearly everything through one doorway is a country that can be squeezed. And lately, the world keeps getting reminded how fast a doorway can jam. In early 2026, a near closure of the Strait of Hormuz in the Middle East sent a jolt through supply chains across Asia. Around the same time, Indonesia floated the idea of charging ships a fee to pass through Malacca. The fear of one blocked route stopped feeling like a distant story and started feeling like a real risk. So the search for a backdoor got serious. The first piece of the answer is already built, and it's a monster of engineering. It's the China-Laos Railway, and it runs from Kunming down through the mountains of Laos to the country's capital, Vientiane. That sounds simple until you see the land. This part of the world is a wall of mountains and deep river valleys, the kind of ground that swallows roads whole, so the builders went straight through. Well over half of the Laos stretch runs on tall bridges or inside tunnels drilled through solid rock. The whole line cost around $6 billion and opened at the end of 2021. Before this railway, hauling goods out of Laos meant days of slow, bumpy trucking over bad mountain roads. Moving cargo between Vientiane and Kunming was 40 to 50% cheaper almost overnight, according to the railway's operators. And the cargo came pouring in. By 2026, the railway's operators reported the line had hauled more than 80 million tons of freight in total, with cross-border shipments between the two countries passing 20 million tons. When it first opened, the line moved only about 10 different types of goods, mostly fertilizer and rubber. Today, according to those same operators, it carries more than 3,800 kinds of products, from electronics and textiles to fresh fruit, and daily cargo trains have grown from just 2 to a peak of 23. Think about what that means for a farmer. A durian picked in Laos can now reach Kunming in about 26 hours and land in a big Chinese city within 2 days, still fresh. Fruit that used to rot in the back of a truck now shows up on a dinner table hundreds of miles away. This is the top half of the new route, and it's already humming. But a railway that stops in Vientiane still has a problem. Laos has no coastline. To reach the open ocean, the line has to keep flowing south. That's where Thailand steps in, and where things get complicated. For the dream to work, China's network has to connect through Laos and then down through Thailand to the sea. Thailand is building its share as a high-speed line, running from Bangkok up to the northern border town of Nong Khai, right across the river from Laos. A new bridge over the Mekong River will snap the two countries' railways together like puzzle pieces. The plan is bold. The first stretch, from Bangkok to a city called Nakhon Ratchasima, covers 253 kilometers, and costs around $5.5 billion. The trains will run at 250 kilometers an hour. Once the whole line is finished, you could, in theory, board a train in Bangkok and ride it all the way to Kunming. Here's the honest part. This railway has been a slog. Work on the first stretch began back in 2017, and by early 2026, it was only about half done. Land disputes, funding fights, the pandemic, and even worries about how the line might affect the ancient temples of Ayutthaya, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, all slowed it to a crawl. The second stretch, running the rest of the way to the border, was approved in 2025 and is only now going out to bidding, with trains not expected until around 2031 on current official targets. So while the Chinese half races ahead, the Thai half is still being poured, one giant concrete pillar at a time, and even half-built, this line is already reshaping the country around it. Look at the flat, green heart of Thailand, the central plains that spread out around Bangkok. For centuries, this was rice country, some of the most productive farmland in Asia. It's about to become something else, the great sorting machine of the region. Here's the picture. Trains come rolling south out of China, loaded with electronics, machine parts, solar panels, and cheap consumer goods. They meet Thailand's highways, airports, and seaports all in one place. Goods get unpacked, resorted, and sent onward. And in the other direction, Thailand's own treasures head north. Durian, mangosteen, longan, rice, rubber, and mountains of frozen seafood, all racing toward hungry Chinese cities. Think of it like a giant kitchen mixing bowl for trade. Ingredients pour in from every direction, get stirred together, and come out as neatly packed orders headed all over the map. To make it work, the land around Bangkok is filling up with container yards and refrigerated warehouses, the cold rooms that keep a durian fresh from a Thai orchard to a shop in Shanghai. A place that once just grew food is turning into the spot where the goods of two giant economies meet, swap, and move on. Quick pause before the next part. Videos like this take dozens of hours to research, write, and put together. If you're enjoying it and want to help the channel keep making them, you can chip in with a small donation through the first link in the description or the pinned comment. No pressure at all. Okay, back to the story. Along that rail line to the north, a string of sleepy Thai cities are waking up, places most of the world has never heard of, with names like Khon Kaen, Nakhon Ratchasima, and Udon Thani. For generations, these were quiet farm towns in Thailand's poorer northeast. Today, they're being reborn as something surprising: inland ports. An inland port, sometimes called a dry port, is a strange and clever idea. It's a port with no ocean anywhere near it. Instead of ships pulling up to docks, trains and trucks pull up to loading yards. Containers get stacked, sorted, and cleared through customs right there, hundreds of miles from the sea, exactly as if they'd just come off a ship. When a truck driver finishes his paperwork in one of these towns, his cargo is treated as if it already sailed into a real harbour. Thailand's plans put the first big dry port in Khon Kaen, on a plot of land next to a rail station, with a second one planned near Nakhon Ratchasima, and more being studied in towns like Udon Thani and Nong Khai. The whole point is to pull cargo off crowded roads and onto trains, which are cheaper and cleaner, and to let these inland towns serve as gateways for the smaller countries nearby: Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Vietnam. The effect on the ground is real. Land that sold for pocket change a decade ago now draws investors. Warehouses go up. Factories follow the warehouses. Jobs follow the factories. A young person in Khon Kaen, who once had to move to Bangkok for work, might soon find that work has come to them. This is how a railway quietly rewires the fortunes of a whole region. Step back, and the bigger shape appears. This whole system is doing something that's never really been possible before. It's handing the sea to countries that don't have one. Laos is the clearest example. It's a nation with no coastline, boxed in on every side by neighbours. For its entire history, that has meant the outside world was always just out of reach, blocked by borders and bad roads. But bolt the Chinese railway to the Thai railway, and a factory in landlocked Laos can load a container and send it rolling toward an ocean port. It's not perfectly smooth yet. Customs checks, paperwork, and the spot where the track changes width still slow the cargo down. But the wall that kept these countries landlocked is finally cracking open, and the mountains that once trapped them are becoming just another stretch of track. That's the real magic trick here. A chain of rails and inland ports takes the hinterlands of Asia, the remote inland places far from any shore, and plugs them straight into the great shipping lanes of the world. Goods that once had almost no way out now have a highway to everywhere. But there's still one gap in the chain. All of this cargo, no matter how far it travels by train, eventually has to reach big ships and open water. And the natural place to do that would send it right back to the crowded doorway China has been trying to escape. Which brings us to the boldest, most controversial piece of the entire plan. Look at the long, skinny tail of southern Thailand. On one side lies the Gulf of Thailand, facing China. On the other lies the Andaman Sea, opening straight into the Indian Ocean. Between them sits a strip of land only about 90 kilometers wide. And Thailand wants to carve a shortcut right across it. They call it the land bridge. The idea is to build two brand new deep-sea ports, one at Chumphon on the Gulf side and one at Ranong on the Andaman side. Then link them with a 6-lane motorway and dual rail tracks running coast to coast. A ship from China would dock on one side, its containers would race across the land by train and truck, and a second ship would carry them onward into the Indian Ocean. No Malacca and single crowded doorway. The official price tag sits near $28 to $29 billion, and the government's target is to open the first phase around 2030. On paper, the Ranong port alone is designed to handle close to 19.4 million standard shipping containers a year. If it ever hit that number, it would rank among the busiest ports on the planet, which tells you how big Thailand is dreaming here. If it works, cargo skips the long detour past Singapore entirely. Thailand stops being a country trade passes near and becomes a country trade passes through. That's a huge amount of power to hold. Whoever controls the shortcut gets a say in how the world's goods move. That's the dream. Now here's the friction. Every shortcut has a cost, and this one has several. The biggest problem is simple math. When a ship uses the Strait of Malacca, its cargo never leaves the boat. With the land bridge, every container has to be lifted off one ship, hauled across the land, and lifted onto another. 2 extra rounds of unloading and reloading. That double handling takes time and money are exactly what shipping companies hate to lose. To win, the shortcut has to be so much faster that it makes up for all that lifting, and it has to beat the giant, ultra-efficient ports already running in Singapore and Malaysia, which have decades of head start. As of mid-2026, not a single major shipping line has publicly promised to use it, and down in southern Thailand, plenty of people don't want it at all. Fishing villages worry the new ports will wreck their waters. Durian farmers worry about their land. Many locals fear that a wave of foreign money and 50-year contracts could reshape their home without ever asking them. There's also a quiet truth hiding under the whole plan. Even Malacca's fiercest critics admit it's the hardest choke point in the world to fully shut down, and the real supply chain scares of recent years happened elsewhere. Building the shortcut is one challenge. Getting the world's ships to use it is a much bigger one. So picture 2 futures. In the first, it all clicks. The rails link up, the shortcut opens, and a durian from a hillside in Laos travels by train through Thailand, crosses that 90-kilometer bridge, and sails out into the Indian Ocean without ever touching the old crowded doorway. A landlocked country reaches the sea. A string of dusty towns turns into thriving inland ports, and the map of global trade gets quietly rewritten in China and Thailand's favor. In the second future, the concrete gets poured, the ribbons get cut, and the ships simply don't show up. The world keeps using the doorway it already trusts, and the grandest shortcut in Asia sits half empty, a very expensive answer to a question the world decided not to ask. Tens of billions of dollars are being bet, right now, on the first future. Steel is being laid, tunnels are being dug, ports are being drawn up on maps. But here's the thing nobody can tell you yet. You can build the fastest, cleverest road in the world, but you can't force the traffic to use it. So the real question isn't whether Thailand can carve a new path to the sea, it's whether the world will follow. And if you made it this far, thank you. These documentaries take a lot of time to research, write, and produce. If you enjoy this kind of content and want to help support the channel, you can make a small donation through the first link in the description or the pinned comment. There's no pressure at all, but every little bit helps keep more videos like this coming. And speaking of more videos like this, if you're not ready to leave this story yet, here's your next stop. We opened the door on the land bridge earlier, that 90-kilometer shortcut built to slip past the Strait of Malacca, but it's a big enough gamble to fill a whole video on its own. Everything that could make it work, and everything that could sink it, is waiting for you in that one. Tap it on screen, and I'll see you over there.